Welcome to the 43rd Annual Dr. George D. Flemmings Freedom Fund Celebration. Our theme this year is a tribute to the arts. I am Estella Williams, and I have the great honor of being the president of the Fort Worth Tarrant County branch of the NAACP. We have prepared an exciting and informative event for you this evening, and we are so thankful to have the trust and the support of our sponsors. Thank you for your continued commitment to our mission. Our special guest is Fort Worth's own Eugene Lee, who has made a name for himself in Hollywood, on Broadway, and abroad. And we will highlight our marvelous award-winning AXO students. The Fort Worth Tarrant County branch was started in 1934 and has remained active for 86 years. We're all dedicated volunteers who give back to the community through numerous NAACP programs, and we'd like to share some highlights from four tonight: education, nonpartisan voter education and registration, environmental justice, and AXO. So please help me begin tonight's celebration with Dr. Roland Carter's rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing, sung by Nicole Heston and some of the best Black opera singers in America.
Lift every Good evening. Wasn't that a fabulous interpretation of our Negro National Anthem? I am Blake Mormon, first Vice President of the Fort Worth Tarrant County branch of the NAACP. The branch is doing vital work in our community, and we would like to take this opportunity to highlight 4 of the programs the branch provides. As President Williams often states, nonpartisan voter education and registration has been our North Star for 86 years. Our chair of the Political Action Committee, Mrs. Vera Roberts, has worked tirelessly to stage effective voter registration drives throughout the year and has provided leadership in recruiting volunteers, poll watchers, and workers. As you know, voting is one of the most impactful things you can do for our community and for yourselves. We realize that it is easy to think that you are just one person and that your vote doesn't matter or make much of a difference. But we want you to know that your vote always matters. So as the November election approaches, we will continue to do all we can to help everyone become an informed and educated voter. Watch for our efforts to provide voter machine training and voter ballot information. The Fort Worth NAACP is here to answer your questions and help you register to vote year-round. And one more thing, please make sure you vote and encourage your friends and family to do the same. Education is another critical focus of our organization. And here to give us the Branch Education Committee report is Monica Garrett.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. I am Monica Garrett. I am a member of the Education Committee and a Fort Worth ISD middle school principal. On behalf of the chair of the Education Committee, Dr. Walter Dansby, and my fellow committee members, we are proud to announce that we have funded 4 scholarships this year. The $1,000 Ray Bell Scholarship recipient is Blair Ingram Everett. Blair graduated from Kennedale High School and is now attending Texas Christian University as a biology major. The recipient of the $1,000 Judge L. Clifford Davis Scholarship is Miss Madison Mouton. She is a graduate of the Young Women's Leadership Academy and is now attending Rice University as a psychology major. The recipient of the $1,000 Willie Mae Dodson Scholarship is Alexis Williams, a graduate of Southwest High School. Miss Williams is attending the University of Texas at San Antonio as a biology major. And our last scholarship recipient of the TCU NAACP Education Scholarship is Miss Chloe Newtall. She is a graduate of the Keystone Academy in Scottsdale, Arizona, and she will receive a full scholarship as an education major, which includes tuition, books, and housing for 4 years. So please congratulate all of our scholarship recipients. Our next report comes from the Environmental Justice Committee, and to give this report is Ms. Gina Bird.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gina Bird, and I am the chair of the Environmental, Climate, and Justice Committee. The NAACP ECJ program was created to provide resources and support community leadership in addressing human and civil rights issues and advocating to strengthen community resilience and livability and to advance energy, efficiency, and clean air. The Fort Worth NAACP ECJ Committee is taking a holistic approach when it comes to combating environmental injustices. Environmental factors are identified as an element in the physical, social, cultural, demographic, economic, political, and regulatory and technical environment. African American communities are disproportionately vulnerable to and impacted by these factors. This year, the Fort Worth branch received a $5,000 grant to start our work on community organizing for environmental justice. Our first event was held on Saturday, January 11th, with a minister's breakfast to educate them about the concerns regarding environmental justices so they can be helpful to their congregations. Emergency preparedness is another fundamental issue we have addressed during this pandemic at our branch meetings. We are now focused on planning for 2021. You are welcome to come join us as we identify environmental issues in Fort Worth. We would love to have you assist us in these important missions. Please come to the branch office if you wish to participate, or please call the branch office. We will continue our tribute to the arts, and Tanya Holloway will tell us more.
Thanks, Gina. Hi, I'm Tanya Holloway, and I am a member of the AXO committee. During this pandemic season, the Fort Worth AXO program managed to keep its promise to the young people of this community by pushing forward with our local competitions in preparation for the national competitions that were held during the National NAACP 111th Convention. Fort Worth is proud to announce that we brought home 6 national medals. Malcolm Harrod received the gold in photography. Selah Hunter received the gold in playwriting and the gold in short stories. Savannah Holloway received the gold in architecture. Kanika Ellis received the silver in drawing. And Ashlyn Scott received the bronze in vocal contemporary. I want to give a big congratulations on your outstanding achievements. As part of the branch's tribute to the arts, please welcome AXO's 16-year-old Savannah Antwine as she plays Rachmaninoff Opus 16, number 4.
Thank you.
What a performance. The AXO students are so talented. Their energy is contagious. What an extraordinary group of young people. My name is Roderick Miles Jr., and I am honored to be with you this evening. My task is to encourage all of the branch's friends who are watching tonight to become members of the Fort Worth Tarrant County NAACP. In 1909, 111 years ago, the vicious cycle of lynchings of Black Americans brought together a multiracial coalition of good and honorable people who wanted to stop the violence. They founded the NAACP, the nation's oldest civil rights organization. What the NAACP has learned over these last 111 years is that there is strength in numbers. Given the advent of the tragic deaths of George Floyd, Tatiana Jefferson, and so many more, we find ourselves right where our founders were in 1909. But my friends, the National and Fort Worth NAACP have stepped up to the plate and made a difference. Together, we have been effective in the passage of the Voting Rights Act. Together, we have fought housing discrimination here and across America. Together, we have offered free community-based webinars to inform our local community on important issues. And together, with 20 local organizations, we are working to bring an effective police oversight board to Fort Worth to promote fair and equal representation for all. For us to be effective, we must have your support as a member, because history tells us that social justice comes when we work together. Membership is the lifeblood of the Fort Worth NAACP. Life membership is $750 that can be paid in increments of $75 per year, and annual membership is $30 for adults and $15 for youth. Please join us in this 111-year-old battle for racial and social justice. Go to the Fort Worth NAACP branch website at naacpfwtc.org for further instructions. Together, Fort Worth, we can tackle any issue before us. Let's stand together. Join now. President Williams will now present the President's Awards.
Thank you, Roderick, for your powerful appeal for membership this evening. I want to present awards to two persons who have taken the membership and support of the Fort Worth NAACP to the next level. The President's Award for 2020 is being presented to Gwenda Burns. Attorney Gwenda Burns is one of our go-to persons in our branch. She has sponsored youth activities and served to provide legal advice to members who have found themselves in need. It is my honor to present the President's Award to Attorney Gwenda Burns.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Madam President Williams, for your thoughtful observation of my efforts to give back to the NAACP and the Fort Worth community. My life is centered around my family, the law, and my community. This recognition by the Fort Worth branch of the NAACP is greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are so welcome, Attorney Burns. My next award is the Dr. George D. Flemming Award, and the recipient of this award is being presented to Mr. Frank Moss, Sr., who has given more than 40 years of service to this branch. Mr. Moss currently serves as an executive committee member and treasurer of the branch. Mr. Moss is a former city councilman from District 5, where he served 13 years with much distinction. It is my high honor to present to Mr. Frank Moss, Sr., the 2020 Dr. George D. Flemming Award.
Thank you, President Williams. As a long-term member of this organization, it's an honor to receive this award. My mission is to do what I can to serve my community, at the same time to carry out the mission of the NAACP. Thank you, and I appreciate this honor.
You are most welcome, Mr. Moss. Now we all know that the arts are food for the soul. So please welcome another tribute to the arts. One of our AXO students, Ashlyn Scott, an 18-year-old college freshman, will sing Etta James's I'd Rather Go Blind.
Something told me it was over when I saw you and her talking. Something deep down in my soul said, cry, girl. When I saw you and that girl walking out, I would rather go blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, child. So you see, I love you so much, just don't wanna watch you leave me, baby. And most of all, I just don't wanna be free, yeah. I was just sitting here thinking of your kiss in your warm embrace, yeah. When the reflection in a glass that I held to my lips, now baby, revealed these tears that are on my face. And baby, I'd rather be blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, yeah. And baby, I'd rather be blind, boy, than to see you walk away from me, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that beautiful song. Our AXO students are absolutely amazing. Friends, the Freedom Fund Committee has engaged one of Fort Worth's own as our 2020 featured guest, Eugene Lee. Mr. Lee is an accomplished actor, writer, director, and playwright. He is a graduate of Paschal High School here in Fort Worth. Mr. Lee was a teacher in the Fort Worth ISD and launched one of his original plays at the Jubilee Theater in downtown Fort Worth. He has been performing on stage and film since the early 1970s, when he was cast in a command performance of A Raising in the Sun for President Lyndon B. Johnson. He has starred on Broadway in American Son with Kerry Washington. He has played the son of Oprah Winfrey in The Women of Brewster Place, and much, much more. We are in for a real treat as Laura Harris, NBC5's award-winning morning anchor, talks with Mr. Eugene Lee about his expansive career. Please help me welcome Laura Harris and Eugene Lee.
Well, I can't tell you how blessed we are today to be able to have a conversation with Mr. Eugene Lee. You know, as I'm looking through your body of work, I can't tell you how just incredibly impressed I am for anyone to be able to have an acting career that spans more than 5 decades. What do you think is the one thing that has kept the longevity going for you?
I ain't scared.
I absolutely love that.
That's the best answer. I want to put that on my headstone. And when I died, that's what I wanted to say. I ain't scared. And to answer your question, I think that is the thing that has driven me. It's I had a roommate in college who said to me, he said, you know what your greatest asset is? The fact that you don't realize what you can do.
Oh, I love to hear that.
And yeah, so when I wasn't getting any acting jobs, I said, I'm not the kind of guy that sits around and waits for my phone to ring. I can create work. So I started writing plays, which led to writing television and stuff. It's just, you know, a bunch of black actors that I knew in New York, we decided a long time ago that we couldn't just be actors, that we had to be multifaceted, that we had to have more than one discipline that we did. Because there weren't that many opportunities, if you know what I mean, at one point.
Right. I was just going to say, it's very interesting how you were able to create your own opportunities at a time when you knew, if I want to work, I've got to make work for myself.
I also learned another thing about longevity, because that's what I sought. When I decided I was going to do this, I said, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay in this for the rest of my life. And I learned somewhere along the line about ownership in terms of longevity and being able to last. As an actor, actors are the last ones hired and they're the first ones that are off the job, if you know what I mean. But if I wrote the script, I own that. And if anybody does my plays, they got to send me money, you know? But it is about ownership, which is something that a lot of actors don't own. You know, they don't own the film unless they produce it, and you know, a lot of that's going on now. But once again, it's actors being more than actors in order to stay in this business.
My dad calls it long money. I think you're talking about long money at this point.
I'm talking about long money. Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I've seen several of your works. I have not seen all of them. I don't want to fib out here. I have not seen all of them. But
I haven't either.
But much of what you have done, it's like, you know, and that's the thing about you. Anytime I see something you have done, you are able to come through the screen and make me feel like I know you. Like right now we're having this conversation as if you and I have known each other for years. How are you able to do that? How are you able to grab someone's attention, no matter who they are, no matter what their background is, grab their attention and make them want to understand what you're trying to tell them?
The two-word answer is I care. You know, even when I'm doing a play, before I go out on stage, if I'm doing a play, before I go out on stage every night, I say to myself, somebody out there needs what I'm bringing. You know, and what was the question again?
So you just answered it. Somebody out there needs what you're bringing. Because for me,
and I'm a teacher at heart.
Yeah. And that's what, when I see you on the screen, I say, oh my goodness, there's something about this guy where I just want to pay attention to everything he's saying. Even the things that you've written, there's something about it. There's something special about it. It's got that edge where I really want to pay attention to what's happening.
Well, you make my day. But I have two things that I want to do as an artist, as a man, you know, as a human being. I seek truth and I seek clarity. I figure if I do those two things, I've done a lot. You know, and especially, you know, in the times we're in right now, the truth doesn't have much precedent these days. And so in my work, and I think that's what makes the characters that I've done probably more accessible. I even played a preacher. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Wolf. It's a little independent film. I played a preacher who's what's the word with likes little boys?
Oh, pedophile. Yes.
Pedophile.
Yeah.
I played a preacher who's a pedophile. But the review said that I found the humanity of that character, if you know what I mean, and made people think that they knew and understood. I call it shining a light on the dark side in an interesting kind of way.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because you said something just now that really stuck with me. The truth doesn't have much of a place these days. And what I'm finding, especially in journalism, what I'm finding is people who maybe don't understand or have never seen something is just not true to them. But just because it's not true to you and just because you've never seen it before doesn't mean that it's not happening. And that's something that you show in a lot of these films and a lot of the plays that you have done, is showing people the truth in what has happened in the past and understanding that a lot of that is still happening today.
It's you know, even in my writing, most of my plays, the stuff that I've written, take place in the 50s, which is an era that I grew up in, but it's an era that I now have a perspective on. That's hindsight. That's 2020. That's not tainted by mistrust. I grew up in a segregated Texas, if you know what I mean. So it would be real easy for me to be bitter, you know, right now as an American, as an African American. It would be real easy. But in terms of my writing, I now have a perspective on my youth and the 50s in Texas that's not tainted by all that mistrust. So I can talk and listen to those characters and find their truths in context, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, something our community affairs director here at NBC5 said to me yesterday, and I told her, I said, I have got to write that down. I'll never forget it. She said, things are better, but things are not right. Mm. Things are better, but things are not right. That stuck with me.
Right. Right. It's, you know, they're delay tactics. You know, change is hard. People don't change till they get new information. I do believe that. And with this new society and new information is available more easily for everyone, I'm seeing a lot of people change their minds about things. This new generation, they're not buying. This new generation isn't buying some of the old ideas about America. They want America to live up to its promise, if you know what I mean. And
yeah.
And I appreciate that, because they've got new information. They recognize that we bleed the same blood, and the humanity, the common denominator, I guess, is what I'm referring to.
Yeah, and that promise that you talk about is justice for all. I mean, that's how it's written, justice for all. Mm-hmm. Not for some people, who
right.
look like this, or some people who look like that, or people who are rich, or people who are poor. Justice for all. And that said,
equal
you know,
justice
yes, equal justice for all. And, you know, that's one thing that the NAACP has worked so hard towards for decades, is ensuring that Black people, African-American people, people of color are getting their just due, and no matter what the situation might be.
Right, right, right. In the arts, in the legal fields, all across America, the NAACP has been the tip of the spear in terms of the civil rights movement and seeking equal justice under the law.
When you look at the Black Lives movement, the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening right now, are you encouraged seeing so many different types of faces and so many different races out there together protesting and doing so in a peaceful manner?
And demanding that America live up to its promise. And that's what I mean when I talk about this younger generation. You know, my generation, you wouldn't have seen that as diverse an element of people responding to the injustice. If you wouldn't have seen that. But today's a new day, and it's great to see.
That it is. Hey, let's go back to your body of work for a moment. What would you prefer? Would you rather be an actor or would you rather be a writer? What do you like better?
What time is it? I like all of it. I'm a storyteller at heart. And I think that's the truth. And I try not to serve two masters. I don't write while I'm acting. And I don't act while I'm writing. Like right now, this COVID thing is kind of fun because I'm putting some words on a page and being creative and creating some work, if you know what I mean. Of course, I'm also getting anxious to get back in the room. It's, yeah. As you know, in this business, you fear they're going to forget about you if they don't see you for a while. But I do appreciate having this opportunity to sit down and finish a play. My new play involves the NAACP in Texas. As a matter of fact, and some other stuff. But it's fun to get back to writing.
You have worked with some incredible names. Just to name a few: Morgan Freeman, Oprah Winfrey, Kerry Washington. It gives me chills just to think that I'm speaking to someone from right here in our area who has done such big things. When you get into a room with these people, are they just people, or does it become this big show that everybody has to put on because they're such big names?
Well, it depends on who you're with. But no, I'm joking when I say that. But nobody that I have ever worked with has been that negative thing that you've talked about. That couldn't walk in the room because their ego and stuff was too big. I've never worked with anybody like that. Especially in theater, you're working in some conditions that stuff doesn't have a place. Yeah, when I think about it, I may have worked with a star or two in a play, but they got fired. But I do feel blessed to have worked with a bunch of these people, and a lot of us started off together, if you know what I mean. In New York, that play I did, a soldier's play in the original cast, that had Denzel Washington in it, that had Samuel L. Jackson in it, that had Jim Pickens from Grey's Anatomy. It was like that. That was, that was a start for a whole bunch of people's careers, if you know what I mean, with the Negro Ensemble Company. So I have been blessed.
But before I let you go, I want to kind of bring this whole thing back. You said to me in the beginning of this interview, people don't change until they get new information. You are teaching the future right now. You are still writing. You are still an actor. What would be one thing that you want people to take away from your body of work and the work that you have done to this point?
Oh, wow. One thing? Only one?
Only one.
I guess I'd have to combine the two things that I seek when I work. I want you to take truth away from what I do. I want you to take clarity from what I do. I want to be a catalyst for change when I can. To change people's minds, to shine light on the darkness. People who have seen my plays have called me up like a year, 2 years later, saying, "Man, damn, I woke up this morning thinking about that play," and I'm like, "Gotcha, gotcha." But I hope with my work I can teach. I guess that's what I mean, because I'm a teacher at heart, and I think that's all of our responsibilities to each other. I jokingly say that, where would we be if the man who discovered fire kept it to himself? I think our responsibility as human beings is to learn. Some people say the Bible says we're here to bear witness. I think it's not just to bear witness, but to share witness. I think that's how mankind has evolved. We've learned, and we've shared what we've learned, and they've shared what they've learned, and that's how knowledge has grown through all the years. So I come from teachers. My Big Mama was a teacher down in East Texas in Crockett. So, they had me reading by the time I was 4. They lied about my age so I could start first grade at 5. So I come from teachers, and I think that's what drives a lot of what I do. You asked me that question earlier too. I think I do my work to teach. People have said to me, "You think you'll ever go back in the classroom?" I'm like, "No, I just have a bigger classroom now." So that my work can teach, can can activate, can educate, can entertain, can change people's minds. Yeah, when people say to me, that character just like my cousin, I'm like, okay, good. I did my job. I gave you something that you could see yourself celebrated, and I think that's important. The lion's share of my work has been in Black theater, with the Negro Ensemble Company, Crossroads Theater Company. So I've done Black plays, August Wilson's plays. I've done all of them, but like 3 of them. I am even August Wilson in his autobiographical one-man showpiece. So my history in theater has been about telling Black stories for, by, and about Black people. And there's nothing that makes me prouder than working with people like the Negro Ensemble Company, where the ushers were Black. The person who gave you your ticket was Black, the producers were Black, the director was Black, the lighting designer, the costume designer, they were all Black, which gives a level of authenticity to the storytelling and truth and clarity to the storytelling that I just really grew to appreciate.
Mr. Eugene Lee, truth and clarity is what you have brought each and every one of us, and especially today. I can't thank you enough for your time. It's truly been a pleasure to be with you today.
No, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, and thank you, Mr. Lee. You have been a true inspiration to us all. But we have a few more special guests who want to share a few words with us tonight.
Eugene is my play cousin on my mama's good side. That's the East Texas Hot Links side. But he is my true brother on the Black Hand side. Yeah, as soon as we crossed paths, we grabbed hands and we made family together. I'm talking about that kind of family that is the very reason we even come through this life. Now, I'm just trying to figure out why y'all honor him. Is it because he is talented? Or is it because he's smart? Or is it because he's just cute? Either way, you mix that Kool-Aid, bruh, you know I'm drinking it.
We are here to celebrate Eugene Lee, or, as I like to call him, the man who made me cry like a baby 8 times a week on stage in front of almost 1,000 people. It never ceased to amaze me how someone so kind and so positive and so generous of heart could be so awful and so mean and so brilliant at giving horrific news. But therein lies his genius. Eugene has done, I think, every single August Wilson play that has ever been made ever, and those are not light plays. They are dark. They are deep. So it got me wondering about his emotional state, but Eugene assures me that he's fine. Maybe just to prove it, you could throw in a rom-com every once and again. During our time together doing American Son, when Eugene would hit the stage, ironically, I felt a soft sigh of relief because I knew that we were almost home. I knew that he would be the one to lead us through the finish line, to land the plane. We all trusted him wholeheartedly to get us there. Before Eugene left the Booth Theater, every single night, he would say to all of us, "I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it." So Eugene, I want to return the sentiment and say back to you, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Mwah.
I'm Cheryl Jefferson, and I'm here to talk about my friend Eugene Lee. Southern men are sultry, hardworking, heart-loving, and dangerously fascinating. This isn't Eugene. He's just my friend, my ride and die partner in good and bad trouble. He's there when you need him, dropping out pearls of wisdom even when you don't want to hear it. I spoke to a group of cancer survivors, and I told them something that my friend Eugene had said to me when I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. Eugene said, "God doesn't close the door without opening the window." And I thought, okay, he's a writer. He's been my friend for 31 years, and that's all the advice he has for me. But I found out through every hellish moment of chemo, radiation, and recovery, those were exactly the words that I needed to hear. He had given me what I needed. Now, that's my friend Eugene. He's a good man, good husband, good father, good son, hardworking, and dangerously fascinating too. Congratulations, Eugene.
Mr. Eugene Lee. Congratulations, my friend, on this well-deserved award from the NAACP in Fort Worth. First-rate actor, first-rate writer, first-rate person. Eugene, it's hard to believe it's been nearly 20 years since we first met. Since then, you've been a great colleague, an even better friend, someone I really appreciate your friendship. And I also want to thank you professionally for the tremendous impact you've made in transforming the department at your alma mater, SWT Texas State. Thanks in part to the Black and Latino Playwrights Conference celebration, we have gone up over 600% in Black theater majors, 350% in Hispanic theater majors, and we've helped develop nearly 40 plays by Black and Latinx playwrights. That's making a difference, my friend. And I've also had the pleasure of seeing the impact you've made in the all-important role of being a father. Many times we go out to Quail when Kai was just a young boy playing golf out there. And now, Kai is a young man. And so it's been a joy to see that growth and development. Which takes me to my last point. Pinky, Elizabeth, Kai, this is also partly your award. Because you're a family, and I know that the life of an actor means being away from home for longer periods of time. So you guys have made sacrifices for that. You've also helped make Eugene the great man that he is today. And Elizabeth and Kai, you just need to know how much your dad is proud of you and loves you. And Pinky, how much he loves and respects you. This is an award for all of the family. And so, again, congratulations, Eugene and family. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your life. I appreciate all that you've done. God bless.
Eugene Stephen Lee. They told me that this video had to be less than a minute. It had to be PG with no profanity. That's kind of hard when I think about our days back in school. Anyhow, my son Chris thinks you are a role model. I agree, totally agree. And just wanted to say continue. Well-deserved congratulations from all my crew and your other roommate from SWT.
Congrats.
Eugene and I first met on the campus of Southwest Texas State University, now Texas State University, in 1970. We were both young drama students there, two of only 4 or 5 black students in that department. And so we became fast friends. Subsequently, in 1972, Eugene and I started a black theater group called the Ebony Players. Our first production was A Raisin in the Sun. I played Walter Lee in the production, and Eugene played Asagai, who was the Nigerian student boyfriend of Benitha, who was the daughter in the family. The production was incredibly well received and was one of the first of its kind, meaning black theater, in our theater department. And we were subsequently invited to perform the play for Lyndon Johnson, the former president of the United States. That was one of the highlights of our college career, as the audience was packed on that hot summer day with people crowded into this small theater and hanging off the stage at the LBJ State Park. And after our performance, we all met President Johnson and Lady Bird Johnson in an informal ceremony, and the university received a big scholarship check. That was the beginning of Eugene's long career impressing audiences. Congrats, Eugene, on being honored by the Fort Worth Tarrant County NAACP.
Bright lights, big city. We're on our way to New York City, and it is off to the Big Apple. Yep, that was the Eastman tune for Gene's send-off, thus the beginning of our star's rise. From the early life of the Fort Worth theater scene, you turned around with no place to be somebody to a place for somebody to be. When I look back at your life of always being willing to break out of the mold, your role portrayals will never be blacklisted by us. So, Jersey had you first, but your East Texas hot links always bring you back to the homeland, our native son. All kidding aside, Gene, we are proud of you and the work you have done, particularly in the light of human justice.
We hope you have enjoyed this evening's virtual presentation of the Fort Worth NAACP 43rd Annual Dr. George D. Flemmings Freedom Fund Celebration, a tribute to the arts. Please invest in our local NAACP and help us secure equality of rights and eliminate race-based discrimination to ensure the health and well-being of all persons. Your generous donation of $50 and above will help us continue this important mission. Please help us and make a donation of the Fort Worth NAACP website at naacpfwtc.org tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening. You're watching Cameron Bryant, our final tribute to the arts for the evening. He is a 15-year-old AXO student, and he is performing a contemporary dance entitled Loss of a Mother. We pray God's blessings upon you and your family and the Fort Worth and Tarrant County branch of the NAACP. I am Art Keith Williams. Good night.